Welcome to the region's only public safety talk show. It's time again for the Sheriff's Report, your weekly report from Spokane County Sheriff Ozzie. Sheriff's Report covers a variety of public issues in Spokane County and is now in its fourth year on the air. Sheriff's Report is sponsored by River Ridge Hardware. Now, here's your host, Sheriff Ozzie.
Well, good morning. This is Sheriff Ozzie with the Sheriff's Report. Of course, if you're listening to this on radio, it's probably more in the afternoon. One of the things that I continually am asked is, do we need a new jail in Spokane County? The answer is yes. I was contacted by a reporter from the Spokesman Review. We're still trying to link up to talk about that this week. On my way down to the studio, an individual asked me if I had seen a editorial piece or a letter to the editor by one of the defense attorneys here in town, Dutch Witzel. And I said, no, I must have missed that one. He told me that, Dutch kind of took me to task about talking about the judges releasing people without bond. Well, Dutch, here's a newsflash for you. That is happening. And it's happening at a frightening rate. And the people that they are letting out, they are very dangerous people. And I can't say that more unequivocally. Perhaps, Dutch, before you put things in the paper, maybe you should do a little bit more research. And not from the activist on the project, but from the people on the ground, the people doing the job. More importantly, maybe you need to go talk to a few victims out there. Perhaps, Dutch, if you did that, you would have a different perspective. Now, folks, Dutch was one of the people that Mayor David Condon picked to write what they called the Blueprint for Reform, is what it ended up being titled. And what that was is really, they went and interviewed a bunch of the people that were involved in the jail project from about 2007 to about 2011, 2012-ish. And they took all our thoughts and all our recommendations and everything that we'd done, they bundled it up into a nice little binder, titled it the Blueprint for Reform, and got a lot of accolades for that. And I'm not saying anything that I haven't told them face to face, because at least two members of that panel I have utmost respect for. Mr. McDevitt, very good man. Judge Murphy, very good man. I have utmost respect for those people. But I told them at the end, I said, you guys took a lot of great work from a lot of good people, and you gave them no credit. And here's the thing about the Blueprint for Reform. It really was never worth the ink that it was written with. Why? Because there was no money. There's no money. There's no money to implement anything that was in that blueprint. And that's why, basically, for the last 7.5 years, we've gone nowhere on this project. Folks, I got myself in a little bit of a bind with the Board of County Commissioners around 2008, 2009 budget time, when I told them that, we run an unsafe, overcrowded facility. They took exception to that. They said, you're going to get us sued. You're setting us up for a lawsuit. I said, no, our inactions will set us up for that lawsuit. Now, I've been part of the jail project since 2005, because when I started to decide to run for sheriff, I thought I better get up to speed on all the issues. So I became a part of the jail expansion team, because this project was never about building a completely brand new Spokane County Jail, at least at that time. It was about expanding the jail, getting rid of Geiger Corrections, which is a very dangerous facility, never designed to be a jail, and developing programming. That's what it's always been about. But the activist won't ever tell you that. And quite frankly, it's the activist that has the media's ear. Always has in this project. And that's a sad thing. Because if you do the math, for the last, well, it's going on almost 15 years now, and if truth be told, since 1995, the jail has been identified as overcrowded. But for the last almost 15 years that I've been involved in this, folks, there have been people that died in that jail. A number of people that have died in that jail. You've seen it in newspapers. 8 in 14 months, I think it was, just recently, about a year ago. I wonder, and Dutch, I want you to ask yourself this question too. I wonder how many of those people would have been alive today had we done something to fix this problem. If you think I'm passionate about this, every one of those deaths weigh heavy on my soul. They do. Because I feel like I failed this community because I wasn't able to get my fellow peers, my fellow elected peers, to take the interest and the commitment to fix this problem. And people died. And it's not just happening in the jail now, folks. May was a very bloody year, or month, outside the jail, because of what's going on inside the jail. Dutch, those people that are being OR'd, those people that are being OR'd, had the jail been functioning correctly, their mental health issues may have been quickly identified. They would have been put on mental health watch, hooked with resources, rather than released within 35 minutes of being booked into the Spokane County Jail, one of them. 35 minutes, Dutch. And that individual died. And another individual was released within a day. Within 10 days, committed an attempted homicide. We got lucky on that one, Dutch. No one died. So, Dutch, next time you want to talk about bail and release, let's get the facts. Let's talk about it. Because people are dying. And it's a tragedy. But you don't care about that. Very few of the elected seem to care about that. If we cared about it, we'd be fixing it. And folks, I want you to think about it. How safe do you feel in this community anymore? Now, I know the answer to that because everywhere I go to speak, I hear about it. You're angry and you're frustrated. You ask me, why do these people keep getting out of jail? Well, because that's all we do. The only thing we've accomplished in 7.5 years is this. We established the Spokane Criminal Justice Commission, Council, and I was one of the people that pushed to get that done so we could get the community together to resolve this issue. Problem is, the electeds turn it all over to the activists, and the activists don't want to do anything because they don't think anybody should go to jail. But they say they care about people. I would challenge those activists to take a tour of the Spokane County Jail right now, and you tell me where triple bunking is a good thing for people. For the people in jail and the people that have to work in that jail, where inmates only get out 1 hour a day, and I can tell you, folks, that's a dangerous mix. And quite frankly, I'm amazed that the federal system hasn't come down on us harder than it has at this point. Because NIC has been in Spokane County twice now. In 2013, they came, gave us a report, said, you better start building a jail. That's basically what the report said. So, all those activists that say they care about people, no, you don't. There's no way you could care about people and allow people to live under those type of conditions or work in those type of conditions. You don't. You don't care. And I think it's time for that to change. all these are people you're about ready to elect in these local races coming up. I want you to think about it. I want you to think about the fact that Ben Stuckert's been council president for 7.5 years and doesn't want to think we need to build a new jail. Because he's fought it for 7.5 years, longer than that, actually. I want you to talk to Brian Biggs, because he has fought this jail for a very long time. Brian likes to sue me a lot. At least he used to before he changed, left the Center for Justice. I looked at him one day and said, you know, Brian, you're suing me for the wrong reason. When are you going to sue me for the right reason? Well, he'll never do that, folks, because he knows that if he does, that means we'll fix the jail problem, and yes, people will go to jail. Brian doesn't think anybody should go to jail. Again, I told you that there's certain things we accomplished. The council, well, on the council, the only thing we really accomplished was write some bylaws, get a grant. The grant's designed to let more people out of jail. Not fix the problem, just let them out. That is not going to fix the problem. That is not going to build the programming we need to help people change their lifestyles. None of that's going to work. It's time to have a serious conversation. And quite frankly, all you people that say you care about people, all you activists, it's time for you to really show that you really do care about people and not just your organization, because quite frankly, I understand you have to have this problem so you can continue to raise money for your organization. Again, folks, it's not about people. It's about them. It's about their status. It's about them having a platform to talk. But it's not about action. It's not about resolving issues. If you think I don't like activists, you're probably right. I don't. I have very little use for them because they really don't care about people. They care about themselves and their whatever it is they're activating for. So let's go through a few slides. And this is a combination of various presentations I've done over the years. And as you see on this slide, we're starting 3 decades. Next year will be 25 years, folks. 1995, remember, your Spokane County Jail was identified as overcrowded. At the time, I believe this slide was about 2011, talking about some of the things that we had worked on, because I want you to focus at the bottom. This project is more about than just about bricks. It's much more than just about the bricks, the hard facility. We need to end overcrowding. We have to build a community correction center or community resource center, whatever the politicians and activists have renamed it now. That's where all your programming goes. And it has to be safe, it has to be the right size, and it has to be modern. We've gone from, in 2008, a $265 million price tag down to $229 million, and the difference there. Building vertically costs $265 million. Building horizontally costs $209 million. And where you see the $199 million, folks, you don't want to go there, because that means we're not building the proper number of jail beds. We're not. We talked about staffing. If we could have opened that facility back when we were doing this, we saved the community almost $2.5 million a year, just in operating costs. Think about the number of programs we could do and create and operate with that money. But we continually bleed money because Geiger Corrections and the current Spokane County Jail work against us. They're they're not cost effective. Matter of fact, Geiger costs us roughly $2 million a year because it's inefficiencies. The next slide talks about all the things we had to do to get to where we were at that time, 2011. During 2010, 2011, we did 70 plus outreach listening sessions. We talked to the community. And quite frankly, we had to, answer the same questions time and time again because the activists always showed up with their questions. And how did this activist movement start? Well, it started in about 2009 when I was talking with then Commissioner Bonnie Mager and told her, I think we found a solution to save some money on the jail project, to take it from $265 million down to about $229 million. And she stopped me right there and said, look, if you're trying to build that jail anywhere but downtown, I will fight you. I said, Commissioner, how are you going to justify spending $265 million when we can save about $28 million by building horizontally? I don't care. If you try to build that jail anywhere but downtown, I will fight you. I'm an activist. I know how to do it. I will fight you. Well, Commissioner Mager, remember all of those people that died in that jail over the last 14 years? That one's on you. And I don't say that lightly. You fought me all right. But what you didn't calculate was the number of lives you would cost, because we didn't do anything. We didn't fix this problem. So the next slide talks about an offender's journey in our system. Pretrial services, the backbone of our system, pretrial services. And here's the kicker. We funded pretrial services based on the grant that I told you that we received. I told our electeds not to do that. I said, that's foolish. Because when the grant runs out, how are you going to fund pretrial services? There's no money. Remember what I said about the blueprint for reform? There's no money. You can't fund pretrial services based on a grant. It is the backbone. They went ahead and did it. We went into early case resolution, which is same justice sooner. Work out that case, lower end crimes, work it out, and get people through the system sooner. Work on our classification or risk assessment. Well, that's been a disaster, and it currently is a disaster that's killing people. And I don't say that one lightly either. We went with the risk assessment tool that everybody said, oh yeah, it's been researched. Yeah, show me the peer review. You didn't listen to Yakima when they were going, oh, this is not good. We knew going in, not good. So this iteration, which is one of, I don't know, I think we're at 5 now, is no better than any of the others. Actually, the one developed by Washington State University was a good one, but it did one thing that is taboo. It kept people that should be in jail in jail. It scored them properly. And when we unfolded it, the jail population spiked. They pulled it offline, and they worked on it, trying to get it to where the tool to where it would just release people. Well, the one that we have today, its default is just let everybody go. That is just the way it is. Case managers, well, we sure need a lot of those. I wish we had the money for them. Next slide. Folks, if I had a magic wand today, it's roughly 40 months. Actually, probably a little bit more, because we have to scoot that timeline back because we've lost a lot of momentum. Anywhere from 6 to 4.5 years before we could actually open a new facility. That's how far we are behind the curve here. So, like I said, if I had a magic wand today and we could start construction, we're at least 40 to 60 months out, at least, before you could actually have a new facility open and operating. So think about that. If this goes on into the next year, which will make it almost 25 years from 1995. Will be 25 years. It will be 30 years from the time we identified this facility as being overcrowded and dangerous before this community took any action to fix it. And how many more people are going to die because of that? I just ask you that question. How many more people? Next slide talks about the draft master plan, which is collecting dust on some bookshelf right now. In 2011, we were going for the public vote. We were coming to ask you folks to, help us keep our community safe. That's what we were going to do in 2011. This was geared to go in 2011. And we pulled the plug. Why? Well, people didn't think that you would vote for your safety. That's why. Because this thing has to have a 66% supermajority vote. They just didn't think we could get there. They didn't even give you a chance to weigh in. And it's been that way for 14 years of my experience here. That's why the last 7 years we haven't done anything. I just hope we do something before more people die. The big discussion is how many jail beds do we need? How many jail beds do we need? Well, this project originally, the one that's on the bookshelf, was designed to take us out 25 years, but it was really designed to take us out 50 years. So our grandchildren didn't have to deal with this nonsense that we're dealing with right now. Because all they would have had to done when it came time for them to have a few more jail beds, they could have just built a pod, and in 2009 monies, it was about $20 million, and they would have been able to handle their incarceration needs. Because this was designed to move into the future and grow as our community grows. And our programming was designed to grow as the community grows, because this wasn't all about beds. People talk about smart justice all the time. Well, here's the kick about smart justice. Smart justice was brought to this community not by Brian Biggs and the No New Jail people. It was brought to this community by Mark Richard, former commissioner, and myself. It came from Florida. Smart justice dictates this. We are going to do our best to give you programming, to get you out of this cycle, to get you education, to get you job skills, to get you a job, hopefully stabilize your housing, get you on the path to becoming productive citizens again. However, if you violate the terms and conditions of your programming, you are going to be held immediately accountable for that violation. And in order to hold you immediately accountable for that violation, we have to have an empty jail bed, something we do not have in this community, and that is why very dangerous individuals, people that are breaking into your house, stealing guns off your nightstand as you're sleeping, stealing your car while you're sleeping. That could have been a bad one. Think about that. Stole the gun right off the nightstand. That means that he was in the bedroom while this person was sleeping. And he got right out. Our deputies and our police officers are arresting people carrying guns, committing crimes all the time. They're getting right out. How long is it before one of our deputies or police officers have to use their weapons because we keep letting these people out that are committing crimes, carrying guns out, or even worse, how long is it before one of our police officers or deputies are killed by one of these people that you, system, keep letting out? That's the reality, Dutch. Mr. Wetzel, that's the reality. So, all kinds of data on jail populations and beds and what we may need and what we may not need and things like that. Bottom line, multiple studies, and we need to get a clue that we have a population in Spokane County that's over 500,000 now. The simple rule of thumb method is this: 5% of the population is what you should have bed space for. So do the math. So we should have bed space today today, mind you, of about 2,500 beds today. And we have 464, plus 200 more out at Geiger, about 250 out at Geiger. That's what we have. We have a population of about 970 in the jail, pushing 1,000. You're going, Sheriff, I thought you said we only had this many beds. Well, yeah, we're triple bunking, folks. That means we are severely overcrowded. We got people triple bunked in cells designed for one person. We're putting 3 in. That's how you get to your 1,000, based on the actual bed calculation. That's how we get there. The jail was only designed to hold 464. We're putting almost 700 people in it. That's what's happening today. Next slide is a comment by the National Institute for Corrections. I told you they came in after some jail deaths. And here is their number one recommendation. Next slide is, it says, number 1, resume/continue planning for jail construction to provide additional bed capacity needed to respond to the increase in jail population that has occurred since the Spokane County Jail was opened in 1986. Mind you, the jail opened in 1986. It was identified as being overcrowded in 1995, roughly 9 years. Please, let's not make that same mistake this time. That's why this bed space, this bed number is so important. Let's please not design a jail that within 10 years, we, the citizens of this county, are now back in the same problem. Please don't do that. Please make sure we're designing this for the next 25 years, actually the next 50 years, so our grandkids don't have to deal with this. Please, politician, will you please listen just for once? Just once. Don't set this community up for failure. Please. Now, I told you about activists, so we're going to skip a few slides. And we're going to go down to a slide that talks about programming. All right? Our programming slide says early case resolution, pretrial services, mental health, and reentry programs. Those are some of the things we work on as far as programming. At one point, we had like 35 different programs that we ran in the Spokane County Jail. Parenting classes, job education classes, resume classes, the whole thing. The next slide that says non-bricks talks about all these efforts. The next slide is the continuum that we went with. You know, community correction center, moral recognition therapy means, you know, teaching people right from wrong. Yes, folks, some people need to be taught what's right and what's wrong. Education, work search, you know, housing, substance abuse, mental health, the whole gambit. Those are programs that we started. So this isn't just about building a jail. This is about trying to impact and fix people's lives. Activists, can you please listen to me on this? This is about trying to fix people's lives. If we skip some more of the slides down to the one that shows that the building, you see that red spot? That red spot is the booking area. That's a process station. Let's call it the triage center. Because if we bring somebody into the booking area, they are triaged right then. Is this a low-level crime that was committed because they were drunk, on drugs, or had a mental health issue? Okay, do we really need to put them in jail? Or do we need to get them help? You probably don't need to put them in jail, low-level crime and things like that. Let's put them into programming. Let's get them into stabilization. Let's get their mental health, drug, alcohol issues fixed. Get them into the community correction center, get their lives stabilized, and get them out being productive citizens again. Now, if they've committed crimes, they need to go to jail. They need to be held accountable, folks. Accountability needs to come back into the vernacular. Accountability for committing crime. Novel concept. They want to compare. There's a group that's coming into Spokane to do a documentary. They want to compare Boise, Idaho with Spokane. Big mistake, huge mistake. You can't do it. And here's why. In Idaho, you commit a crime, you're going to jail. You're going to go to prison for a long time. In the state of Washington, you commit a crime, they're going to just let you out. They do it all the time. You can steal 10 vehicles in this county. 10. And you're not going to get any time. You're not even going to get looked at. Maybe after your 10th, you might get a month or two. Maybe. You do that across the border in Idaho, you're going to time. You're going to prison. You can't compare Boise and Spokane, folks. Big mistake. Can't do it. Don't even try. Totally different system over there. They still care about values and accountability and things. This state has become a socialist haven. The next slide shows where the long-term housing is. You see those kind of brownish buildings up off to the left? That's your expansion area. That's where our grandkids don't have to worry about building new jails and all that. All they have to do is build a pod. You know, they can expand. It was designed into this. Why can't we get this done? Well, some activists want to say there's a racial disparity in the jail. There is. Granted. Next slide shows you something, though. Because when you start talking about racial disparity, you got a problem here. Because the math that they want to use. Now, this is a article that came out in 2015, written by the ACLU. I have no use for them. In the next slide, they start talking about, SWAT uses of county sheriffs and everything else. You go to the one right after that, you'll see Spokane County. Spokane County, it says, affected 588 African Americans between 2011 and 2012. When I called them, I went, "What are you talking about?" Because I was dumbfounded. I was taken aback. What are you talking about? 588. Well, I said, is that just from 2011 to 12, or does that include 11 and 12? Well, the first answer they gave me was 1 year, and then they came back and said, well, no, it was 2 years. Regardless if it was 2 years. Here's the facts. Let's go back to the slides. ACLU says that we use SWAT for minor drug search warrants with few weapons located. Well, I guess that's a few weapons. Yep. Usually when we do drug search warrants, folks, we find lots of weapons. Drugs and weapons go together. Next slide. Here's the fact. In 2011, we had 15 call-outs. We have had an impact on 2 African Americans. 2 in 2011. In 2012, we had 25 call-outs. We impacted 2 African Americans, 1 male, 1 female. The next slide, in 2011 and 2012, our totals, 40 call-outs, 64 suspects. 58 of those were white suspects, and 4 were African American suspects. Not 588. Now, how did they get to 588? Well, they gave me a nice math calculation. I still can't make it work. I don't care how you want to fudge this math. 4 does not equal 588, because here's what they want to say. Since the African American population is only 2% in Spokane County, you should only affect 2% of the population in any enforcement. So when you talk about jail racial disparity, only 2% of this population should ever be represented in the Spokane County Jail, only 2. Well, if we lived in utopia, that may work. We don't. If everything was equal, education, economics, jobs, everything perfectly equal across all demographics, you could use such a model. You can't use such a model because the world isn't fair like that. It's not. This is not utopia. And now if you really want to talk racial disparity, I'm here any day you want to do it, activist. Any day. But you don't want to talk about it because, and it's dangerous for me because I'm going to be automatically labeled a racist. Because I'm going to ask you to go with one question. Why do we have our young African American kids committing crimes? And more importantly, what are you going to do to help save young African American kids from dying? At one point in this community, our African American kids that were involved in gangs came out and they begged us to do something. Begged us to do something. We don't want to see our friends die anymore. We did nothing. So, activists, what are you going to do? These kids don't want to die anymore. I've seen too much blood. It's time to end it. This is Sheriff Ozzie with the Sheriff's Report. Have a good day.
Thanks for watching. Sheriff's Report is produced in Spokane, Washington by SpokaneTalksMedia.com, which is solely responsible for its content. Sheriff's Report is sponsored by River Ridge Hardware. Ask Ozzie a question, recommend a guest, or hear this program again on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or SpokaneTalksMedia.com.